Hello, everybody. My name is Dratnos, and welcome to our quick look at the Oracle Holy/Discipline Priest hero talent tree. My tooth is still messed up, by the way. That's going to be fixed next week at some point, so pardon the voice sounding a little bit different. Let's start off with the top of the tree. So this is Oracle, which is shared again by Holy and Discipline, so Shadow can't play this one. And of course, Holy and Disc both have one other option that they can play that is shared with Shadow. But Oracle is built around Premonition, which is a replacement to Power Infusion. It's on a 1-minute CD, and it lets you either increase your target's healing received, increase their magic damage dealt, or increase their physical damage dealt and the damage dealt ones will be 10% for 10 seconds. Now, replacing Power Infusion, which is on a 2-minute CD, with a 1-minute CD that is shorter duration, but 10% damage amp. You're going to want this, obviously. So I watched a little bit of the interview where they talked about this tree. I didn't watch the whole thing. So if they talked about exactly how you choose which of these three, I didn't hear that. Depending on what the method is, that will affect the power of this. Notably, whether you can, avoid Solace as much as possible and mostly stick to Insights and Glories, or whether you have to do an equal amount of all three. But either way, this will be something that you're going to want to target the people that do primarily magic damage, or primarily, like, you don't want to target people that do half magic, half physical damage, which there aren't too many classes in the game that have that kind of split profile anymore, but there are some, and you're going to want to avoid them. So yeah, that's a little bit of a weird thing here. But yeah, other than that, you're probably going to just target them with Insight and Glory. Solace in high-end content, I mean, throw it on a tank or something. It would be good on like Mythic Fire Act to throw it on one of the big tree ads that's walking in. That would be a good use for this. But or on Mythic on Laredar, actually any difficulty targeting the roots with Solace, those would both be good. So that actually seems to me to be the strongest case for a healing received increase. But there are some things that modify these further in the tree as well that we can take a look at. So there's preventative measures here, which just increases the value of Powered Shield or Prayer of Mending by 10%. Preemptive Care, which increases the duration of Atonement by 1 second and Renew by 3 seconds. Actually, a decent amount of power in that node. There's a choice node over here, which gives you Waste No Time, which says Premonition causes your next Radiance, Heal, or Prayer of Healing to be instant and cost 15% less mana. 15% less mana, not a big deal. Instant cast is very nice for quality of life, especially because Premonition is an instant cast, I believe. I guess it doesn't say on this thing, but presumably it is, in which case you're going to be able to get 2 good movement globals at a time there. That's always really nice for relocating. The other option here is Miraculous Recovery, which reduces the cooldown of Power Word Life by 3 seconds and allows it to be usable on targets below 50% health, which is also nice, I guess. I'm not sure which of these is going to be the default option here. My guess would be Waste No Time for like raid and stuff. I don't know about M+. Maybe you could try. My guess is it'd be Waste No Time, but I'm not a healing priest expert or anything. Over here we have Assured Safety, which says Shield apply Power Word Shed applies 1 stack of Prayer Mending to your target, and Prayer Mending casts apply a Power Word Shield to your target at 20% effectiveness. So that's nice. That's definitely something. The you get a little bit of basically the other spec, whether you're Holy or Disc. You're not going to have any of the synergies with it or anything like that, but Shield you cast fairly often, Mending you cast fairly often, so you're going to get a little bit of extra value out of those. Then here we have another choice node, either 2 seconds off of Purify, or when an ally walks through your Angelic Feather, you're also granted 100% of its effects. Now, most priests I know just have a button that feathers at their own feet, and they just use it that way. But potentially with this, you'd get a lot of value out of just... I mean, the thing is, you would need an ally that's actually going to use it, and that's the problem with the Angelic Feather, is that it's often kind of hard to actually get any value out of that. But, if you're not going to need the cooldown reduction of Purify, you could just take this and then just chuck a feather in the middle of the raid or something, and I don't know. It sounds a little bit fiddly to get good value out of, but it's kind of free, right? Because 2 seconds off of Purify might just be worth absolutely nothing. Foreseen circumstances here, Pain Suppression reduces damage taken by an additional 10%, and Guardian Spirit lasts an additional 2 seconds. Again, nice little buff to your external. I think the Guardian Spirit side of this is a little stronger because Pain Suppression, it's rare for things, at least in PvE, to die through Pain Suppression. So, making you not die through it even more. I mean, I guess it's effectively just some extra healing done to the target, but the life-saving value of some extra duration on Guardian Spirit seems to be a little bit higher to me. And then here we have Grand Reveal. When your shield is fully absorbed, or your Prayer of Mending heals, gain a stack of Grand Reveal. At 150 stacks, gain an additional charge of Premonition. All right, so we're casting more Premonitions, and we're gaining them, so you would think it's every time you click Powered Shield or you click Prayer of Mending, right? And actually, when you click Prayer of Mending, multiple stacks go out, right? So that bounces around, so you'd get multiple stacks per this. But they actually, because of the assured safety, you're going to get two... you're gonna get multiple of these, right? You're basically getting double value because your shields and apply Prayer of Mendings and vice versa as well. So that's quite a lot. That's 150 stacks is a lot, but I feel like you could proc one of these every 2 minutes or something would be my guess. Because you'd need what? 75 casts of Power Shield? I guess that's a lot of casts of Power Shield. Maybe it'd be less frequent for Disc. Maybe more for Holy though, because Prayer of Mending's bouncing around and healing a lot. That happens quite a bit. Perfect Vision, especially depending on the builds of Holy and the tier sets and stuff, anything that interacts with Prayer of Mending kind of goes crazy. Okay, so here we have a choice node between Perfect Vision, reducing the cooldown of Premonition by 10 seconds to 50 seconds. Interesting effect because a lot of classes are built around, integer number minute cooldowns. So reducing Premonition to 50 seconds, ideally you would time this with people's CDs, which is annoying, especially the more frequently you have to do it, the more annoying it gets. But, in some spots, reducing the cooldown, especially if you have consistent damage dealers like Outlaw Rogue, you can just throw one of these on kind of whenever, and it's always just going to be a nice little damage amp. That is a lot of value. That's a lot of cooldown reduction. It's what, 16% off the cooldown or something like that. That's a lot. The other option is Versatile Divinations, which says Premonition can now trigger the Brilliance and Urgency effects, which Brilliance restores 5% of your target's mana, and Urgency increases your target's haste by 12% for 10 seconds. Now, this one, I wonder if this, when it says can now trigger, does this mean that these are now two options alongside Solace, Insight, and Glory? In which case, it kind of dilutes the pool a little bit to add Brilliance in here. I mean, I guess Brilliance is nice. Healers will like that, but Urgency is definitely a powerful one. Definitely, but, would you rather have 1 out of 3 bricks, which is 33%, or 2 out of 5, which is 50%? Which is 40%. 40%, not 50%. That is a little bit worse in terms of that ratio there, depending on exactly how this works. I watched a little bit of the interview. I didn't watch the whole thing. So if they expounded more on those details, I don't know them. We've also got over here Divine Providence, increasing the duration of your Premonition effects by 2 seconds. Or Fatebender, Premonition's effect is increased by 30% if the Divine spell is different than the previous Premonition, which that gives us a lot of information right there. That lets us know that, you could have the same Premonition twice in a row, or that you could not have it. And potentially this means that you're choosing as well. So maybe it means that each spec has a different one of these, right? Maybe tank specs will proc Solace, and then specs will proc Insight or Glory, depending on what they are. And then maybe, I don't know how you would choose Urgency and Brilliance. Maybe those would just be in addition, right? Maybe you just would always trigger Urgency in addition, unless you're targeting a healer, in which case it triggers Brilliance. I don't know. That is a big deal for sure, but 30% increased effect is more powerful than 20% increased duration, certainly. So that would generally be the go-to if you're getting good value out of swapping, which, if you can choose, then that's a lot of value, a lot of power. And then finally, we have Clairvoyance, which says Premonition has a low chance to grant you Clairvoyance. Clairvoyance grants your target and 2 nearby allies all the effects of Premonition at 100% effectiveness. So that's a lot. So the thing is, this reads like a lot. Getting all the effects is not that big of a deal, unless you've taken Versatile Divinations. For most specs, getting Insight versus getting Insight and Glory, not that big a deal, right? It's not like you're getting double the value because you're getting Insight and Glory. if you are, that means you're one of the specs that was not a good target for Insight or Glory in the first place, right? Because you're half magic, half physical damage. Getting Solace is nice. If you happen to have versatile divinations targeted, and that means you're also getting brilliance and urgency, well, that's great. Now you're getting urgency as well. That is very cool. But the main thing that clairvoyance is doing is that it's giving two nearby allies the effect as well, which those people won't be necessarily targeted. And we've seen with augmentation that very few augmentation evokers are planning out all four of their ebb and might targets by positioning. And I think with priests, that would be happening even less because the augmentation evokers that are doing that are doing it often with moving themselves, right? They're doing verdant embrace or whatever so that they can be right next to their fourth target when they cast their ebb and might. And priest doesn't have a tool. Well, I guess priest has life grip. So you could life grip your target somewhere you wanted them to be. Presumably if you do that, you're going to get yelled at though. So that is, I think, something that you're not likely to see be used as a clairvoyance manipulator. But yeah, I don't know. This whole tree is a big double down on power infusion and imbuing other people with power being being part of an identity of priests that people enjoy. And I think to some extent, the reception to Augmentation Evoker has made it clear that there definitely is an audience for that type of thing. I'm a little bit worried about this because I feel like this kind of, I mean, you're going to see a lot of high-end players just really bemoan this because for high-end gameplay, gaming around power infusion, gaming around augmentation evokers is just a lot less fun than not gaming around those things. Leaving aside the stuff with the logs, which with augmentation, ever since augmentation, logs have been pretty bricked for the purposes of being like a super accurate indicator of how well somebody's doing, which the secret is they kind of always have been not super great for that, but at least you could kind of compare yourself from pull to pull, which, with augs and stuff, that has become less effective. Now, if it's just a question of like, oh, well, this time I happened to get 2 clairvoyance bounces onto me, whereas last pull I didn't, that's going to hugely affect your damage on any given pull. On the other hand, Insight and Glory should be easily applicable to the priest in logs and stuff, which is nice. Urgency is not. Urgency is a haste buff. You can't, logs really can't do a good job of attributing how much extra damage came from 12% haste on somebody, right? That's something that is extremely difficult to do, and basically they just don't try with power infusion right now, which is a haste buff. So that's likely to never be, if versatile divinations is the pick here, which I suspect it probably will be depending on how exactly all this works, then that is going to be something that can't show up in logs. But at least Insight and Glory will be. So maybe compared to power infusion, if most of what you're doing is Insight and Glory, that might actually make it a little bit better from the perspective of damage being attributed to the right targets in logs and stuff on details, which is one concern that people have. For me, though, I just don't like the process of figuring out what you're supposed to do with power infusion and with augmentation evokers. It's sort of interesting, but it's not fun for me. It's one of the least fun parts for me of planning out a fight. And I don't even do much of the augmentation stuff. That was something that last year our augmentation evokers did, but now both of them are quitting augmentation evoker for next year because it was so unfun. So I'm a little sad about that for, me, my guild. I think it's gonna make the game less fun for us, but I guess hopefully there's a set of the player base that is really enjoying this kind of stuff, and that makes it all worth it. That's my optimistic look on this. Yeah, that's the Oracle tree. Hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think about the tree and the video in the comments down below. I'll have ones for the other trees coming out over the next 24 hours as well as I get those videos made. So yeah, check those out too. There'll be a big playlist as well if you want to see reactions to all the earlier hero trees as well, hero talent trees. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.